in a case like that. I've lived in this town for 34 years and have waited for many years for sewerage, and now it's just going to be a certain, a selected area in, Martin's Pond, Route 28, Market Street, in town center. And I personally, at this point, don't care about hotels and, big business and all that coming into North Reading.
Okay. Gentleman over in front here. Gentleman first. Oh. Sorry.
Dean Rabbit, 8 Old Farm Lane. I also believe I'm not one of the ones that would be connected to the system, so I want to make a couple comments. First of all, about the $500 charge. You maintain a septic system properly, you're going to pump it every year or every year and a half. I just had mine done. That's $250. So that's the same charge in a different manner that you're being charged to get rid of your waste from your house. The other point I wanted to make is about financial priorities. I think the town has spoken several times at the elections with overrides, projecting overrides. I was in the minority in the last election voting for the override for the schools. What I found out from a lot of other parents with kids in the school system who would want to support the override was that they wanted this town to live within its means. And this is beyond the town's means to look at a sewer system when what's coming down the road in a year or two with the school system? How are we going to pay just to maintain the services we have today? And you want to put a high school online. I believe Mr. Delaney put on his platform when he's running that he wanted a long-term plan. What is the long-term financial plan for this town? I don't think it's responsible to consider this project without looking at all projects over the course of the next 5 years.
Thank you. Woman that, no, Jenny. Go behind you. We'll get you next.
Joan Panzer, 4 Traveled Way. When I look at those figures on top of the taxes that I am paying now, and we know they're going to go up again in December because they always do, and then in the transcript they said they had a meeting about renovations to the high school. It's not that people don't want storage. Where's the money coming from? I mean, I'm retired, I'm a widow, and I'm on a fixed income. How much more can I pay in taxes? And young couples are in the same position with little kids.
Do you have comment? Oh, I'm sorry. Gentleman way out the back. We're trying to give everybody one chance to speak before we let people up on the second.
Jonathan Bird, Old Andover Road. I believe that I'm actually a person that would not better from this, even though I actually am in Martin's Pond. I have 2 comments. The first is that I feel like what I'm hearing is that a lot of the reason for this, at least in the Martin's Pond, why would we put a sewer system in the Martin's Pond is because of water quality issues. And I think that's a valid reason, to want to do this. But to me, that does represent a betterment to everybody in the community because that's a town water supply. So that is a definite argument for why some of this burden should be shared a little bit more evenly by everybody in the town. It's just another reason why everybody in the town benefits from the sewer system. I'm not against it. I just think that right now it's a little bit inequitable. And I think that the 80-20 is actually a little misleading because what you're saying is 80% of the money will be sourced from 10 to 20% of the people in the town. So that creates a huge disparity. It's not 80-20. For an individual, for a homeowner, the disparity between someone who's being bettered and someone who's not is $20,000 versus $100 or something on the, I mean, if you don't get bettered, what's your cost? $91. So this guy in the McMansion is $91, and this guy over in Martin's Pond, $20,000, whether they need a septic system or not.
I think you've misstated something. Okay. The $90 or the $92 is an annual cost.
Okay, so,
Okay.
so 90 versus 1,500.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
But the point is that it's a very large difference. It's not 80-20, it's more like 10-1 or more. Okay, so it's a huge disparity. And the other thing that kind of bothers me about it is that the way voting works is that the people that are going to pay the most have the least vote because, well, hey, if I'm over on the part of town that's not getting better, well, it's only going to cost me 91 bucks a year. Let's go for it. And 90% of the town has that say without having the same financial commitment in the outcome as the 20% or the 10% that are actually being bettered. So that's sort of a second wave of unfairness to it. In principle, I think it's a good concept. I just don't think that the way it's being formulated to be paid for is quite equitable. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Spoken. Okay, gentlemen. And still lady too.
Vincent Savello, Road Circle, and also commercial property on Route 28. My question is, upon the first day that this system is in effect, what percentage of capacity is going to be available from the total capacity, is going to be available for new growth, new business growth that you can bring in to use that capacity? Because then my second question is, knowing what that capacity is, do we also know what revenue they're going to bring into the town, which might help to defer some of the cost from the initial people that are going to have to pay for this thing? You understand my question? Okay, you got a capacity. Upon the first day, there's a capacity of total capacity. Martin's Pond and the other areas are going to eat up a percentage of that. And let's say that percentage is X. There's another whole capacity that's available for new business. That new business comes in, they're just going to have to hook up from the piece of land to the town piping that's already paid for by the first group of areas that you've already charged them for. Why can't you come up with a better plan which then foresees that kind of growth and draws some of the funds from them, therefore reducing this initial 20% and 80 and 20 that some of these people have to pay for?
I'll give my run and then Ken can. We cannot predict when and who is going to come and make up that.
But you can predict the available capacity. And available capacity is an EDU unit. And an EDU unit has a dollar value to it.
Yeah, I will give you this example. Say you own your commercial property and you're using the equivalent of 1 EDU at this time. You want to redevelop your property after you've bought into the betterment, year 2 of the betterment process, to 10 EDUs, say, afloat, because you've got new tenants or something coming in. Does that mean that you don't incur additional costs associated with that? No, you'd have to be reassessed at, now you've got 10 EDUs afloat. You've only paid the equivalent of 1 EDU.
But I've already paid my initial cost. The new growth company or business that's going to be brought in after this is already done doesn't have to concern himself with that construction cost. All he has to concern himself with is going from his buildings to the street.
I'm going to turn it to Ken because he's seen it at other towns. My quick answer would be somebody coming in is going to have to pay a buy-in cost. They're not getting a free ride because the sewer's in the street and everybody else has paid for it before they come in. But I'll let maybe Ken can address it better.
Let me take a crack at this because I think I hear what you're saying. This is a little bit of a problem. It's kind of it's a catch-22 with building the system. You're exactly right that if things were the way we would want them to be, we would take this to make the cost better and we would increase the capacity of the facility by 50%. And if we did that and could collect that many more EDUs, we could reduce everybody's betterment charge by 1/3. right? That's the way the math works. The problem is, when you, and Mark started the answer with this, the problem is when you're projecting future people that are coming in, we can't sit here, and it would be irresponsible of the town officials to do this, and tell you that you can rely on money coming from people that we haven't met yet, that don't own property yet, that haven't proposed to build anything yet we've built in capacity for them and they're going to come. It would be irresponsible for us to do that financially. What we would have to do if we built the facility 50% bigger, pick a number, whatever, but say for the sake of discussion, significantly bigger, the extra cost for building it that much bigger would have to initially be borne by the town. It would have to go back on the tax rate. It would significantly increase that impact on the town's finances in a number of different ways. The problem is that makes the project less affordable, not more affordable. Long term, it's a great solution. Short term, it really fouls the financing of the project. So the way the project is set right now is the 350, 375, wherever we're at, is essentially how much you need. This is the way it happens. That first day that you go to connect, there is no excess capacity per se. Your units might go up and down, but there's really no excess capacity until everyone in the system that's going to get served that we promise sewer to gets connected, or at least gets offered the connection. Then, once people start to connect, we'll actually realize some economies of scale in the flows. We'll actually be able to connect a few more people. There'll be some more units that'll come in. But the real thing we can offer is, even if we have a system that's got 375,000 gallons a day capacity and we're putting 375,000 gallons a day into it, and we're at capacity, if the town gets an attractive commercial developer that comes in and they can offer a package to the town that makes sense for the town to vote in support of, the town can then go and upgrade our facility. The capacity of the facility can be readily increased once it exists. It can be done for less money than it costs initially to build it. To expand a facility is cheaper than building a new one. That cost can be paid directly by that developer. It doesn't have to be paid through taxes. There's no additional betterment charge. It probably has the result of lowering your user charges over time, but all the costs that you can bring in from that developer get borne by that developer. And the reason it works that way is because it's proven. That's what happens in other towns. Developers want to have access to infrastructure. They are willing to go out and pay a little bit extra to know that they don't have to maintain their own wastewater treatment plant. So the model that you have is one where we try to keep the costs low initially for planning purposes, and then once the system's up and running, then we go look for that excess capacity. We make it work, but we make it work with someone else's money, a developer's money who is coming in, they've already got a proposed project, and there's a guaranteed cash stream before you shell out town money to do it. It's just part of the wisdom of the decision-making process.
So basically, you are saying that the $40 million is not enough money today to do phase 5 today? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, that's...
Is that what you did say?
That's not correct. It
Is
is
that
not
what
enough.
you're saying?
It is not enough money to do a significant amount more development beyond phase 5. There may be a couple